When I bought my first house, I thought the scariest part would be the loan. Not the kind of fear that makes your skin crawl, just the adult kind that comes with interest rates and overdue bills. It was a quiet little bungalow outside Milwaukee. 2 bedrooms, chipped paint, a fenced yard. The kind of place that makes you think, maybe this is what peace looks like. The first few days were normal. I changed the locks, set up the utilities, even put paint samples on the hallway wall like I knew what I was doing. It smelled like primer and hope, the official scent of pretending you've got your life together. By the second week, the mail started coming in. Mostly junk, welcome packets, coupons, water bills. But there were always a few letters addressed to someone else. Lorraine Hensley. The name didn't mean anything to me, so I scribbled return to sender and dropped them back in the box. Then more came. All handwritten. Same messy handwriting. No return address. One afternoon, I noticed one envelope wasn't sealed, just tucked. I told myself not to be nosy, and opened it anyway. Inside was a single piece of paper with 6 words. Do not let him back in. No greeting. No signature. Just that sentence. I must have read it 5 times, trying to guess the tone. Warning. Pleading. Threat. I laughed it off, figured it was some breakup drama from the last tenant, and shredded it at work. But the next day, another one arrived. This one said, Jean is not allowed. Same handwriting. Same ink. By the end of the week, I had 5 more stacked on my counter, each saying some variation of the same warning. That Friday night, I was half asleep, earbuds in, a true crime podcast whispering about someone else's nightmare. Then my doorbell rang. Just once. A single chime, clean and sharp, and then silence. The porch light threw a faint yellow strip across the hall. I waited, no footsteps, no car engine, nothing. I told myself it was a late delivery or some bored kid. But the next night, around the same time, 11:17 p.m., it rang again. This time, I didn't move. I just watched the shadow under the door until it faded. By morning, I ordered a cheap doorbell cam. Habit from work, maybe. I like evidence. The next day, while eating lunch at the office, I opened the app. The motion alert showed a man standing inches from the lens. Cap pulled low, jacket collar turned up. He didn't knock. Didn't move. Just stared straight into the camera for almost 10 seconds, then turned away. As he passed under the porch light, the mic picked up one muffled line. She forgive me yet? The words hit wrong. Not, did she forgive me? Just that flat question, like he already knew the answer. I replayed it again and again until my phone dimmed. That night, I locked every door, made tea I didn't drink, and sat at the kitchen table, trying to sound rational inside my own head. Stalking cases cross my desk all the time. I know patterns, escalation. The way obsession starts with curiosity and ends with a police report. Still, I slid a chair under the front knob before bed. It stayed quiet for 2 nights. Then, on the 3rd, right past 11, the bell rang again. This time, I spoke through the door. You've got the wrong house. He answered like we were mid-conversation. Calm, steady. She always let me in. She said I could come back if I got better. The knob turned just enough to click. Not forced, tested. My pulse spiked so hard I could hear it in my ears. I grabbed my phone, thumb shaking, and called 911. I have a man outside, I told the dispatcher, trying my door. He's talking about the previous tenant. While I stayed on the line, I heard the footsteps cross the porch, slow, heavy, and then fade. When the officers arrived, he was gone. They took my statement, logged the footage, told me to call if it happened again. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I tried pretending everything was fine. That worked until I went down to do laundry. The basement was quiet, that deep, heavy quiet that sounds like pressure in your ears. I dumped clothes into the washer and noticed the small utility closet behind the water heater. Its door was cracked open just an inch. I was sure I'd never opened it. The inspector had said it was just access piping. I pulled it wider. Inside was nothing but dust, old rags, and a single pillowcase tucked behind a pipe. It looked placed. Inside the pillowcase were a few travel-sized toiletries, a cracked flip phone, and a yellow sticky note. 3 words, written in the same shaky handwriting from those letters. Back at 11 p.m. I didn't move for a long time. Just stared at it, feeling the air tighten around me. The letters. The man. The hour. It fit together in a way I didn't want it to. Whoever Gene was, he hadn't been visiting Lorraine. He'd been living here. I called the same officers who'd come before. They showed up fast this time. The detective turned the pillowcase inside out, frowning. Homeless squatters sometimes use basements like this, he said. Could be old. Could be him. Do you think he's still around? I asked. He shrugged. Change your locks again. Just in case. I did. But it didn't help. Every night after that, as the clock crept toward 11, I felt my focus scatter. I'd catch myself glancing at the door, waiting. 2 weeks passed with nothing. I almost believed it was over. Then one Friday night, I was reviewing case notes in bed when the doorbell chimed again, that same single tone. 11:17 p.m. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped my laptop. I opened the doorbell app. The porch was empty. Then, motion blur, someone darting out of frame. I hit the floodlight switch. The yard exploded in white. For half a second, I saw him, the back of his jacket, his hat flying off as he ran toward the street. That was the last time I saw him. A few days later, one of the officers called me back. He said the phone from the pillowcase was dead, no SIM, no traceable data. No prints either. Probably an old squatter, he said. You just moved into his comfort zone. Comfort zone. That phrase stayed with me. The idea that a place could still belong to someone long after they'd been forced out. That someone could still believe they had a right to return. I changed the locks again. Bought new cameras. Even moved my bed away from the front windows. But peace doesn't really come back. It just hides. Every night, around 11, my eyes drift to the clock, a reflex now. It's been 3 years. He never came back. Still, sometimes when the mail slot clacks open, my heart stutters, waiting to see that handwriting again. It never does. But I forward any stray envelope to the precinct anyway. I guess that's the part people never tell you about feeling safe. It isn't about who you lock out. It's about who still believes they belong inside. When I bought this place, I didn't care about curb appeal. I cared about structure. 3-bedroom ranch, mid-70s build, concrete slab foundation. Perfect for a guy who'd spent 15 years in law enforcement, someone who values what holds instead of what shines. My wife used to joke that I treated home projects like crime scenes. She wasn't wrong. That first Saturday, I put on knee pads, earmuffs, and went at the kitchen cabinets like I was processing evidence. Label every screw, bag every hinge, take photos of the layout. Order made me feel in control. By noon, the kitchen was a mess of open walls and scattered boards, but I could finally see potential under the chaos. Then, while prying off the last base kick plate, I heard a small metallic clink. I figured it was a loose screw. But when I pulled the plate free, I saw something taped beneath it, a small brass key, tarnished, wrapped in old duct tape. It had a tag loop with no label. Just blank metal. People hide strange things in houses. Cash. Pills. Regret. But a key taped under a cabinet? That didn't fit into any normal pattern. That night, I left it on the counter, meaning to toss it in the junk drawer. I kept catching myself staring at it. My wife noticed. "Another mystery solved, detective," she teased. "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I just found someone else's secret." I couldn't let it go. The next morning, I walked out back. The yard stretched into a patch of wild cane and weeds so thick it looked endless. I'd barely explored it when we moved in. That's when I saw it, a rusted tin shed almost buried in overgrowth. The latch still had a padlock, orange with rust. I took out the key. It slid in smooth. Turned like it had been waiting for me. The lock popped open with a dry snap that echoed too long. Inside, my flashlight beam caught a swirl of dust and something else, a faint smell of plastic, like burnt toys. The shed wasn't empty. 3 gray storage totes sat in a perfect row, lids snapped tight. The first one held children's shoes. Not pairs, singles. A pink sandal. A mud-caked sneaker. A tiny boot with a glitter star half peeled away. All different sizes. None matched. I told myself there had to be a rational reason. A daycare maybe. A donation box gone forgotten. But then I opened the second tote. Photographs. Dozens of them. Interior shots of houses, not mine. Kitchens, basements, hallways, bedrooms. A few had stuffed animals or curtains visible. Others had notes scribbled on the back in shaky block letters. Move mirror. Same layout. Closet door. The third tote stopped me cold. Inside was a duffel bag full of laminated ID badges, hospital IDs, all from the same place, but every one had a different name printed. The photos were identical. Same face, same man. I zipped the duffel shut and backed out of the shed like it might explode. Training kicked in before panic could. I took photos with my phone. Locked the padlock again. Called a buddy from patrol. He arrived half an hour later. We reopened the shed together, this time recording everything. When I lifted the duffel again, something slid free from underneath, a single fresh ID badge. No photo. No printed name. Just my street address scrawled across the top line in black marker. I hadn't seen it there before. My friend looked at me, waiting for me to say something. I didn't. We just locked the place up again and called it in. Detectives arrived within the hour. They logged everything, snapped photos, bagged the IDs. Asked all the standard questions. Did I know the previous owner? Had I noticed strange vehicles? Any old tenants come by? I had nothing useful to give. That night, my wife tried to calm me. Probably some squatter stash, she said. Or a collector's weird junk. Maybe. But it didn't feel like junk. It felt curated. By sunrise, I had a floodlight aimed at the shed and a trail cam mounted on the fence. Habit, control what you can see. A week later, the detectives called back. The hospital IDs were counterfeit, printed on blank stock stolen years ago. No usable fingerprints. No matches to open cases. They closed it as miscellaneous recovered property. Case closed, just like that. A month later, I went back out there. The lock hung twisted. Freshly cut. Inside, everything was gone. The floor swept so clean it looked intentional, as if someone wanted to erase every trace. I welded the door shut that same day. My patrol buddy stood beside me, holding the flashlight while I sealed every seam. Neither of us said a word. Later, sitting on the porch, we drank coffee in silence. He finally asked, "You think whoever it was came back for the stuff?" I stared out toward the dark field. "No," I said. "I think whoever it was never left." He didn't argue. After that, I upgraded the alarms, added motion sensors, replaced every outdoor light. Weeks passed. Nothing happened. Still, some nights, when the wind moved through the cane, I'd catch myself staring toward that corner. Not at the shed itself, at the space it left behind. We filled the backyard with gravel after that. My wife said it would keep the weeds from coming back. We planted oleanders along the fence line, bright pink, thick, alive, something that looked like progress. But the corner where the shed used to sit never felt right. The soil there stayed soft even when it hadn't rained. The air heavier. Sometimes, when I watered the plants, the hose would twist itself in that direction, like memory pulling. The police never followed up. The case was labeled closed in their system, but it didn't feel finished. Not to me. We remodeled, repainted, even hosted barbecues to make the place feel normal. And yet every now and then, I'd wake at night and glance through the blinds toward that patch of gravel, half expecting to see a flashlight sweep across it. Maybe it's just my mind filling in blanks the report didn't. Maybe whoever used that shed was long gone before I ever moved in. But sometimes, when the wind gets low enough, I swear I hear something in that corner. Not footsteps, just the faint drag of a chain or the rustle of something shifting under the dirt. I keep telling myself it's imagination. Still, I never took down the trail cam. I just stopped checking the footage. Because part of me already knows what I'd see. That corner isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by purpose, by someone's old routine that never ended. And every time I walk past it, I get that same thought. Maybe I didn't find that place. Maybe it found me. When I bought my little blue house, I told myself this would finally be the calm kind of quiet I'd been chasing for years. Not peace in a dramatic sense, just the steady kind. The kind where the loudest sound at night is your own breathing. The place wasn't perfect. The paint flaked near the windows, the fence leaned, and the floors creaked in spots. But it was mine. My first home, my first space that didn't answer to anyone else's rules. That first week smelled like cinnamon tea and fresh notebooks. I tacked my lesson plans to a corkboard in the hallway and named the backyard squirrel, Principal Nut. Little things to make the silence friendlier. The back door was my favorite part, new deadbolt, clean white frame, a view of the alley. Every night before bed, I'd whisper my checklist. Windows locked. Stove off. Door latched. I even stuck a pink sticky note by the light switch that said, lock. The first time I found the door unlocked in the morning, I laughed. I'd probably been tired, distracted, grating late. I locked it again, pressed the sticky note down harder, and got on with my day. The second morning, it happened again. This time, I just stood there staring at the knob. I remembered locking it, double-checking it, even. My stomach dropped in that quiet way where logic has no words ready. Maybe the latch hadn't caught, I told myself. Still, the thought wouldn't leave me. That evening, I ordered a smart deadbolt, the kind that logs every lock and unlock, every timestamp. When I went to bed, I said the command, heard the motor hum, saw the green light flash. Secure. By morning, the app showed. Unlocked, 2:43 a.m., manual turn. I stared at that line on the app until my coffee went cold. Manual turn. Not glitch. Not low battery. Someone had turned it. I tried to reason it away. Maybe a software bug. Maybe I'd twisted it wrong the night before. But the pit in my stomach said otherwise. That night, I decided to test it, Teacher Brain Meets Crime podcast logic. I balanced a dime on the inside handle so it would fall if the knob moved. Then I dusted a light trail of flour on the floor tiles by the threshold. A cheap science experiment. If anything happened, I'd have proof. Just before bed, I whispered, let's see what's real. At 3:12 a.m., a dog barked somewhere in the alley. Then I heard it, a faint metallic tap. The dime hit the tile. I didn't move. My throat tightened, my body too afraid to even whisper. When morning came, I checked the floor. A single footprint, wide and flat, tread like a skate shoe. And near the doorframe, a gray smudge, almost like graphite. Someone had tested the lock. I cleaned it up, snapped a photo, and told no one. Not yet. That night, I set up my phone to record audio. Around 2:58 a.m., the mic caught it. A wet breath. Close. Then a small nudge of the handle. A slow scrape, like a card sliding into a latch. I hit the siren on the app. The lock screamed with an electronic wail. Through the curtain, a shadow jolted back and vanished. I called 911. The officers arrived within minutes. They found nothing disturbed except the flour trail, smeared again, and the dime rolled into a corner. They bagged a lipstick-stained cigarette, a bobby pin, and a cheap hotel keycard from the gravel behind the house. One of them said it might be trash. The other promised extra patrols. I nodded, pretending that sounded like safety. But even after they left, I couldn't stop staring at that door, like it might blink first. The next day, I fortified. Latch guards, floodlights, a doorbell cam. If fear wanted a routine, I'd give it one. I slept in the front room for a week, eyes fixed on the glow of my phone. Every night before bed, lock, check app, breathe. 2 nights later, the app flashed red, tamper alert, 1:19 a.m. No footage, just the porch light shaking from a moth hitting the lens. Still, my pulse kicked like I'd heard a gunshot. The next morning, my neighbor across the alley waved me over, the one with paint-stained leggings and a runner's tan. My dog went nuts last night, she said. Around 3. Thought I heard a car door, but didn't see one. You good? I told her the short version. She frowned. If it happens again, bang on the fence. I'll flip my porch light. That became our code. Human security, the kind you can't buy on Amazon. I tried to pretend life was normal. Went back to teaching. Smiled when students complained about homework. But that night, curiosity dragged me into the basement. The old utility closet door was cracked open again, just slightly, the kind of gap that shouldn't happen if a latch had caught. I pulled it wider. Inside were paint cans, the water heater, and a scuff mark near the bottom, fresh, right at knee level. Like someone had used their leg to ease it shut from the inside. I slammed it closed and told myself it was wind. But the basement doesn't have windows big enough for wind. Sunday night, I reset the traps. This time, 2 coins balanced on a chair near the knob and another dusting of flour on the floor. Little rituals. Grading papers made me feel in control, maybe this could too. When 2:51 a.m. came, I was half asleep on the couch. Then, a tap. Soft. Glass flexed in the frame. I grabbed my phone, opened the doorbell cam mic. This is being recorded, I said, in my classroom voice. Police have been called. Footsteps retreated into the alley. The same officers came again. They were kind this time, gentle even, explaining that most break-ins are crimes of opportunity, nothing personal. I nodded and thanked them, mostly because they stayed until the sky started to pale. Their presence felt like a temporary wall between me and whatever had been learning my door. 3 nights passed without an alert. The log stayed clean. I started to breathe like a normal person again. Then Wednesday morning, there it was, a dusty footprint by the back mat. Same tread. Same size. And a faint pink chip on the siding, like nail polish flaking off. I called the detective line, left a message, reciting details the way I'd teach a student to read instructions, slow, deliberate, hoping precision could earn safety. By evening, I was telling myself it was over. The human brain will do anything to close a story. But while I made tea that night, I heard something below. Just a faint shift in the basement. A soft groan of wood. Maybe pipes. Maybe not. I stood at the top of the stairs and said it out loud. "You're not allowed in here." It sounded absurd. But it steadied me. The next week, the alert stopped completely. No footsteps. No smudges. No missing sleep. I started leaving the kitchen light off again at night, testing my courage like it was a muscle I could rebuild. For the first time in months, I slept with earplugs. Still, every morning before school, I touched the back door twice. The sticky note by the switch, lock, is curled and fading now, but I won't replace it. It's proof that I learned. The dime sits on my counter beside the kettle. A souvenir from the night I realized fear isn't always wrong. Because doors don't unlock themselves. Someone always turns the handle. And if it ever happens again, I'll be ready. Because this is my place now. And I'm not backing down. When I bought the house, I didn't care about charm. I cared about the garage. I'm a mechanic. Give me concrete floors, a pegboard wall, and enough outlets to run a compressor without tripping the main line, that's home. The realtor kept talking about curb appeal while I was measuring where my toolbox would fit. It was a solid two-story from the 50s. Old bones, straight beams, no mold. The kind of place that doesn't try to impress anyone, it just works. Those first few weeks, I did what I always do. Fixed what was broken. Replaced outlets, tightened wiring, mapped every breaker. It's how I get to know a place, by rebuilding it piece by piece. Everything worked exactly as it should, until it didn't. The upstairs light started turning on by itself. The first time, I didn't think twice. I'd been moving boxes all day, half asleep. Probably flipped it on by accident. I went up, switched it off, came back down. A few nights later, around 2 in the morning, I got up for water, and there it was again. The same light. Same room. Glowing like someone was up there reading. That was weird. I hadn't been in that room in days. Next morning, I checked the switch, the wiring, the breaker, all fine. I replaced the switch anyway. Out of habit more than worry. It should have ended there. 3 nights later, I heard it happen. A small, distinct click, the sound of a toggle flipping. I froze halfway up the stairs, waiting. Nothing moved, but the light was on. The paint around the switch had a faint groove, just below the toggle, like something thin had rubbed against it again and again. The door to that room never shut tight unless you pulled it hard. I grabbed a zip tie from my pocket, old habit, and slipped it through the latch to test the pressure. When I pushed down, the switch flipped clean. Too clean. Like someone had done it 1,000 times. I stood there, staring at that tiny piece of plastic, feeling something in the air tighten. Routine. That's what it felt like. A house repeating a gesture it remembered. The next morning, I picked up one of those cube cameras I used at the shop for undercarriage videos. Set it on a tripod facing the bedroom door. Simple plan, if the light turned on, I'd have proof. That night, around 2:40 a.m., the glow woke me. Upstairs again. Same light. Before going up, I stepped outside to the driveway, just to make sure it wasn't a reflection. But there it was, that unmistakable yellow glow through the window. And behind it, a shape. Not detailed. Just a faint curve of a shoulder, the blur of a head. Still as stone for half a second, then gone. I ran back inside, up the stairs, through the hall. The air in that room was still and heavy, like it hadn't been breathed in for years. No footprints. No draft. Nothing. The next morning, I checked the footage. At 2:41 a.m., the light flicked on. Nobody visible. Just the clean snap of the switch moving up. A second later, the camera caught another twitch, like someone tried to turn it off halfway, then changed their mind. The motion blurred for half a frame, gray, like a sleeve passing too close. I replayed it again and again, hoping it was a glitch, a reflection, a trick of compression. But it wasn't. The angle ruled that out. That's when I started to think maybe this house had a memory, one that didn't include me. Later that week, I went next door to introduce myself to the older woman who'd lived there for decades. She looked at me like she already knew what I was going to ask. "You're in Dugan's place," she said before I'd even finished the question. "The man before you. He used to walk the rooms at night. Said it helped him think." She smiled softly, like it was a fond memory. "He'd check every window, every burner. Then he'd do it all again before sunrise. He liked knowing the house was sleeping safely. Maybe it was meant to comfort me. It didn't." That night, the light came on again. I waited 5 minutes before moving, listening to the faint hum of the bulb. When I went upstairs, the air felt different, charged, like a held breath. Nothing moved. Nothing shifted. But I could feel something had been there seconds before. After that, I started sleeping downstairs on the couch. Not out of fear, at least that's what I told myself. Strategy, not surrender. 2 quiet weeks passed. I almost convinced myself the wiring had been the problem all along. Then one night, I got home from a late beer with a friend and found an alert from my security system. Short power outage, 2:44 a.m. The timestamp hit me before the meaning did. When I checked the footage, there it was, the light turning on for exactly 1 minute. No shadow this time, no silhouette. Just a shimmer in the air, like heat rising off metal, then darkness again. I called the alarm company. They said everything was grounded, fine, no faults. It wasn't the wiring. I'd have bet my life on that. A few days later, I went up into the attic. The place smelled like paper and dust, insulation sagging between the beams. No footprints. No crawl paths. No nests. I marked every beam with chalk, the way I used to mark evidence lines at a scene. If something moved, I'd know. Nothing ever did. For almost a month, the light stayed off. Then, at 2:37 a.m., it came back. The upstairs camera caught it, a clean flick upward. And just for a moment, in the lower corner of the frame, something moved past the lens. A blur of fabric, gray, with a faint seam. Like the brush of a sleeve. I'd told myself for weeks this wasn't about ghosts. I still don't think it was. But seeing that, real, physical movement, made my chest tighten in a way I hadn't felt since my first call on the job. That was the night I stopped pretending this house was just old. I installed sensors in every room, pinned the windows, added 2 more cameras. Turned the place into a trap built from exhaustion. Weeks passed. No lights, no sounds. I started to relax again. Then it clicked for me. Whoever, or whatever, had been flipping that switch wasn't trying to scare me. It was checking something. A routine. Just like Dugan. Now, sometimes the light comes on once a week. Sometimes twice. It stays for a minute, then turns off again. I don't delete the footage anymore. I keep every file. Because erasing it would feel like pretending it didn't happen. Neighbors joke that old Mr. Dugan just isn't done with his nightly rounds. I let them think that. When it happens now, I just wait 60 seconds and turn it back off. Like we've come to an understanding. It's not fear anymore. It's coexistence. The house keeps its habits. And I keep the lights in check. Maybe that's the truth about old homes. They don't always need fixing. Sometimes, they just need someone to finish the routine.